Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm Robert Kieffer. Hi. On Halloween 2008, a mysterious stranger named Satoshi Nakamoto posted an email to a cryptography mailing list that none of us have ever heard of. And he was he was like, nobody knows who this guy actually was. Anyways, he said this. He said, I've been working on a new electronic cash system that's fully peer-to-peer with no trusted third party. And he would go on to outline Bitcoin, which is a new digital currency free from regulation of any overriding body. And then a year and a half later, the first real transaction would take place where a guy in Florida would send $41 worth of Bitcoin to some guy in London who would use his credit card to buy him a couple of pizzas at his local pizza joint. Which was remarkable to me because like cash is supposed to be this stuff that the federal mint prints and that like drug dealers stuff in their suitcases to buy mega yachts or that you put on the counter to buy coffee or that I pay that kid in the Chewbacca costume to shovel my driveway. So what cash is not is this virtual thing that you stick on the internet. I mean, the music and movie industries will tell you that anything that's on the internet that can be copied and that has value will be copied to the point of being meaningless. And so how does Bitcoin even work? Like that was the question I found myself asking. And it starts with something called the Bitcoin wallet, which is an application that you install on your phone or your laptop or whatever. And that's where you create your anonymous identity that lets you give and receive Bitcoins. The other thing that this app does, though, is it connects you to all the other people running Bitcoin software, this peer-to-peer network ecosystem that makes up Bitcoin. And what that ecosystem is doing, what really drives all this, is it's maintaining something called the blockchain, which is a public ledger of all the transactions that take place. Like every transaction with Bitcoin is actually recorded and it's publicly available. So it is the source of truth that your wallet checks to see if that guy who says he's going to give you 10 Bitcoins actually has 10 Bitcoins to give you. And those transactions are recorded using something called a proof of work puzzle. And the best way I can explain this is to say, pick two numbers between 1 and 100, multiply them together, and then add the digits. And so, for example, like 11 times 13 is 143, 1 plus 4 plus 3 is 8. Like that would represent a transaction. But that's the easy to verify part. What you really are doing is trying to reverse that, where if I asked you like, okay, pick two numbers that give a result of 33. Like that's actually much harder. So, in fact, if you just pick two numbers at random, you have about a 1 in 5,000 chance of getting that. And I think the answer is actually, just to give you the answer, it's 86 and 93. This is my little exercise. But the point is, these problems are hard by design. And the Bitcoin version of this, what really happens is unimaginably difficult. Your computer is effectively guessing two numbers between 1 and 300 trillion. And then instead of doing a multiply and an add, it's doing over 1,000 math operations to see if its guess was right. Which means you need a lot more cats or computers. In fact, you need this entire ecosystem. I forgot what my next slide was. So, right. So, if you can actually solve one of these problems, if you're lucky enough that your laptop or your computer solves the problem, you're rewarded with 25 Bitcoins. That's how they get into circulation. And those Bitcoins are worth about $5,000 now. And this has led to a cottage industry called Bitcoin mining, where people actually build dedicated hardware to solve this problem. And to give you a sense of the scale of that industry, those Bitcoin mining systems are using about 44,000 megawatts of power every day. That's enough for all the households in Oregon, which is a big system. And the reason that's important is that if you want to hack this ledger of who's got what Bitcoins, you have to bring more computational power to the plate than is already out there. And you have to reproduce all the work that's already been done, which is to say it's not really feasible. And so you can trust this core Bitcoin system, but that's not to say it is without controversy. I mean, if you listen to what the media is saying, Bitcoin is always mentioned in the context of money laundering or Ponzi schemes, all these sort of nefarious purposes that an anonymous, secure cash system tends to attract. But the core currency is actually sound, and that's represented by the fact that it's been gaining in value. 3 years ago, a Bitcoin was worth 25 cents. Today, it's worth over $200. Actually, I just checked, it's about $230. Which means if we go back to that guy in Florida who paid $41 for those pizzas, if he'd hung on to those Bitcoins, he'd have over $2 million today, 3 years later. So the takeaway here is not to invest in Bitcoin. It's that it's a real currency. There's about $64 million in transactions happening every day. There's $2.2 billion of Bitcoin in circulation. But it's a sound technology, but more importantly, it is volatile and it is unregulated. So if you're gonna get into that system or get involved with it, do your homework. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. Thanks.